Tennessee. Mr. Ogles is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the witnesses for being here. Mr. Benda, the banking industry has reported that fraudulent ads purchased through Google and Meta are being used to impersonate legitimate financial institutions, tricking families into handing over sensitive credentials and wiring away their life savings, otherwise known as malvertising. When banks flag these ads, what specific obstacles do you face in forcing big tech to remove them quickly? And are these platforms effectively profiting while dragging their feet on takedowns?
Thank you for the question. So I think that what we are seeing is significant levels of profiting from these ads. The best source we have is a Wall Street Journal article that said Meta earns $160 billion from ads. They estimated 70% of those ads were illicit or poor goods or fraudulent ads. It can take 8 to 32 strikes to take down an ad. And so you can imagine someone reporting something 25 times isn't sufficient, it has to be 30. So I would say not all social media companies are the same. Google is an example, I think, of a company that is improving. They have a priority flagger program that they partner with financial institutions to report things. During the pilot, they took down ads with, they took down around 97% of the ads that were reported within a very quick time frame. We think that type of activity needs to be done across all social media platforms, whether voluntarily or mandated. But we also think when user-sponsored content, which the Google Priority Platform doesn't account for, needs to have a way to be examined when they're portraying themselves as a financial services company and luring people into scams.
And just to clarify, you said Meta, $160 billion, roughly 70% was fraudulent?
That is what the Wall Street Journal reported, sir.
Ms. Griffin, the GAO has found that responsibility for countering scams is spread across 13 federal agencies with no real coordinated strategy. Given that malvertising on Google and Meta is now a common vector for fraud, should national anti-fraud strategy explicitly include requirements for these platforms to vet and verify financial advertisers before an ad ever goes live?
Thank you for the question. One of the things that was clear in the conversations we had among the task force members, which included the companies we're talking about today, is that there are very different business incentives and legal and regulatory requirements across these different sectors. We believe that there is an important step to take that outlines the private sector expectations or responsibilities that companies have for scam prevention, and combine that with Good Samaritan legal safe harbors when firms act in good faith to prevent scams. Doing so, I think, will go a long way towards creating a better playing field for all of these different sectors at the table.
Mr. Bednowitz, your company specializes in monitoring and protecting consumers against identity theft. From your vantage point, how often do victims first encounter fraud by clicking a fraudulent search and/or social media promotion? And given the sophistication of AI-generated scams, do you believe that Google and Meta's so-called consumer education efforts are keeping pace with the real threat, or are they leaving Americans to fend for themselves?
Yeah, thank you for the question, and it's a very good one. You know, I'm looking at data here that from our own protection, we see that 63% of scam-related threats were observed on Facebook, 22% on YouTube, and criminals are using AI-generated personas and deepfakes to make these scams appear legitimate, like what we're talking about here. And there's also another vector of threat from the social media companies by them encouraging people. It's in their best interest for people to have their information publicly, and people don't realize that they hide privacy controls, and the more information that's out there, the easier that criminals can take advantage of that and use that with AI to put together sophisticated profiles that allows them to target people in the most personalized ways possible.
Well, you know, I want to caution, you know, when you're a hammer, i.e. the federal government, everything looks like a nail. And so, you know, last thing I want is more government, which is why I supported gutting the CFPB. In fact, in a hearing, I said to be or not to be. And I said the one agency that deserves to die the most painful death is, in fact, the CFPB because of the regulatory restraints they were putting on small banks. But that being said, when you look at this issue, the crisis at hand, especially the seniors, but in general, the scams and the loss of funds. Mr. Benda, what can we do, and we have 28 seconds, what can we do to fix this?
I think one of the things that's critical is to have a takedown process. We recognize these ads are up there. When someone is being impersonated, say you're a local banker, and it's scamming people into crypto schemes, that needs to be taken down quickly. At a minimum,
Mr. Bednowitz, you'll get the last word.
I agree with what Mr. Benda is saying. There needs to be vetting of the advertisers on the platform and then also pressure to make privacy controls more transparent to the consumer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the witnesses. Have a great day.